we're lucky enough today to have on this conference call Hockey Canada CEO and President Tom Renney, Vice President of Hockey Operations and National Teams Scott Salmon, member of the management group Bruce Hamilton, our Director of Player Personnel Ryan Jankowski, and Head Coach Benoit Groulx. At this time, before we open it up to questions, I'd like to give the mic to Tom Renney, who will say a few words. Tom?
Thank you, Andre. Bonjour. Good morning, everyone. Today's a real exciting day, obviously, for all of us, but especially Ryan, Ben, Scotty, and Bruce, of course, who have been boots on the ground with this process for a number of months now. And so this, and as much as it's only a step, it's certainly an exciting one. This gives us a little bit more traction, if you will, something a little bit more to identify with. The World Junior Championships are certainly very much alive and really very much in front of us. So an exciting day, to say the least, and I couldn't help but acknowledge the number of media members that were here this morning. It was a fabulous turnout, so there's obviously great interest here in Montreal, as there will be no question about that in Toronto. But I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge these fellows here for their hard work, and Ryan in particular with zigzagging the countryside and doing your thing, and Bruce just with your leadership. Appreciate that as well. You've been down this road a couple of times and have some great insights to share with our group, and of course Scotty Salmon, no stranger to this event as well, and having done a great job. I have to say that I'm absolutely thrilled with Ben's coaching style. I'm absolutely thrilled that he's the man at the helm. I see a real calm, forceful figure, a man that's in control right from the get-go, and I think that bodes well for a competition that, if not handled properly, can be somewhat overwhelming at home, and that's the least of my concerns. So just greetings to all of you. Enjoy your call. If I can be of any help with an answer here or there, I'm happy to do that, but I'm sure you'd like to speak to others.
Thank you very much, Tom. Merci beaucoup, Tom. At this time, Mike will open it up for questions. I just ask if we could have the media identify themselves and their affiliation prior to asking their questions, and also identify who they would like to ask their questions to. À ce moment-ci, on est prêt pour prendre les questions. Je demanderai aux membres des médias de s'identifier ainsi que leur affiliation et la personne à laquelle ils posent leurs questions. Merci beaucoup. Mike, back to you.
Okay, perfect. Yes, so in order to ask a question, just hit 01 on your keypad. To remove yourself from the question queue, just press the pound sign. And we have a first question here from Jeremy Freeborn of Hockey Magazine. Please go ahead.
You bet. Thank you ever so much. This question is either to Scott or Ryan, and there are 6 players who are from Calgary who are playing for the Hitmen who are invited to the camp. Are you able to pinpoint maybe some of the reasons why that so many Calgarians have had so much success in recent years?
So 2 from the Calgary Hitmen and then 4 other Calgary-born kids. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm saying.
You know what? That's at the end of the day, it's a fluke. You know what? The players are researched and scouted based on their abilities, and the fact that there's 4 Calgary kids and 2 playing for the Hitmen is coincidental. I know that the Calgary 95-born age group was strong, and I think you see that reflected with the group of players that's been selected from Calgary here today.
Good. Well, thank you ever so much.
And I'll just clear that was Ryan Jankowski speaking there.
Okay. You bet. Then thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Our next question here is from JF Laplante, please, from Le Droit. Please go ahead.
Oui, bonjour. La question est pour Benoit Groulx. Benoît, vous avez choisi un joueur franco-ontarien de la région d'Ottawa qui s'appelle Rémi Elie. Il n'avait pas été invité au camp cet été, et puis il se retrouve sur votre liste présentement. Alors, qu'est-ce qui a fait en sorte que Rémi se retrouve au camp chez vous, là? Camp final.
Bien, comme on l'avait dit au camp d'été, on avait dit que c'était une étape, et puis qu'il y avait d'autres étapes qui s'en venaient, notamment le début de la saison des joueurs dans leur équipe respective, et puis je crois que on les a vraiment eus à l'œil, et puis son nom est venu sur la table de par notre scouting, et puis dans la série Subway, il est vraiment très bien fait. Il s'est mérité une invitation là, puis le fait qu'il a performé à la série Subway nous a forcé la main à l'inviter au camp final.
Donc, un joueur qui est capable de jouer world class comme tu cherchais, c'est ça?
Il patine bien, capable de s'impliquer. C'est un gars qui a un très bon lancer. Ça va être à lui de nous montrer là, qu'il est capable de tenir son bout avec les meilleurs joueurs de notre équipe.
Merci.
Okay, perfect. Our next question here is from Willie Palov. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's a question for Benoit. It's Willie Palov from the Chronicle Herald in Halifax. I'm curious about Zach Fucale. He was the starter last year. Does that mean you have him in that job now, or is this some kind of a wide open competition to see who the starter is?
You know what, Willie? It's too early. Obviously, we've been scouting the goalies like for 2 years, and I think Freddie Brathwaite and Ryan Jankowski, after 2 years of scouting them, concluded that they were like the most consistent goalie, the most competitive, and probably the most successful also. So that's why there was no hesitation for us. Like, we thought that we had the top 2 goalies in the country with us. So, but now they got to come to our camp, prove themselves. It's wide open, and we'll determine later on who's going to play the first game. But so far, it's like I said, it's too early.
Yeah, one other question about Zach. Having this tournament in Montreal there's going to be tons of pressure. He's from there. He's a Canadiens pick, but his reputation as a calm player and a big game player. Is that something that you think is going to help him if he does end up in the net?
You know what? Zach Fucale came in our league being 8th pick overall, and as a 16 years old, I think he played that year 60-plus games. End up in the semifinal, lost to Quebec, and the following year at 17 years old, he's played as much game as the first year and won the Memorial Cup. So I think he's been through many different situations in his career, and I think he's being our number 1 last year. He gained a lot of experience like any other players who were on that team last year. So I think it's a challenge for him, but it's also a challenge for anyone on our team, and I think they'll all embrace it.
Last thing is about Samuel Morin. He just came back from that injury. Is this something you guys worry about, or you feel like he, even with a week or 2 of preparation, will be okay to go?
You know what? The report we have from Rimouski, from Serge, it's Samuel's doing very well. He's in very good shape. He's skating well. He's playing with confidence, and he's a leader on their team. So for us, that I think it's good news, and we'll see how it plays out at camp. But we're very confident that Sam can be a good player at that camp.
Perfect. Thanks, Benoit.
Okay.
Perfect. Our next question here is from Daniel Eugene Bowman from the Saskatchewan Star Phoenix. Please go ahead.
Hi, guys. This is a question for Ryan Jankowski. Then I have a follow-up for Bruce Hamilton as well. Being from Saskatoon, I'm going to ask you guys about Rourke Chartier, who's a player that wasn't invited to the Super Series team. And so I guess for Ryan, how did he kind of emerge on your radar after not getting to play in those 2 games in November?
Yeah, hi, Daniel. You know what, Rourke started off the year well, but he's really got hot, kind of late October. We had finalized our Subway Super Series rosters before that, and you know what, he just kept progressing, scoring more, and I think it just goes to show that you know what, we're not just looking at the players who play in the Subway Series. We do have an open mind on other players who are performing well, and Rourke fits that. He's been dominant for the Kelowna Rockets, who are the best team in the Western Hockey League, and he deserves an opportunity to show his stuff at our camp. And you know what, kudos to him. He scored a lot of goals, and we're looking forward to seeing his abilities on display at our camp.
Perfect. Thanks, Ryan. And Bruce, I guess Rourke was a player that was drafted late round pick by San Jose in June. Where have you seen the biggest strides in his game to be truly an elite player in the WHL?
Well, I tell everybody he's the smartest player that I've had, and I think that he's just matured as a young man into, he's not when he came in at 16 years old, he wasn't a very big player, and now he's 5'11", 185, 190 pounds, so he's able to play, more minutes and compete in parts of the game and in parts of the rink that, he couldn't when he was younger. But he's been a pleasant surprise, and I think a lot of it has to do with who he's playing with too. With Merkley and Goulbourne certainly help him, but and he'd be the first one to tell you that. But I'm really proud of him, and it was being from my own team. It was kind of a case where the other guys in this committee had to be involved in the selection process because I'm not a big guy for pushing my own guys, but he's a very intelligent player and deserves this opportunity.
Just a quick follow-up. You said the smartest guy that you've had. What does that mean? What kind of makes him stand out in that regard to make him such hockey?
Well, if you spend the time that I have watching him play and you see where he scores his goals from, he doesn't score his goals off the rush. He scores his goals in and around the net where he knows where the puck's going to end up, and he just happens to be there. So I see him do things like that, and also I just watch his game has got better and better along the wall. Whenever there's a competition for a puck, he seems to find a way to come off the wall with it and then get it to the front of the net. So, like I say, he's turning into a real complete package as a player.
Perfect. Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Ryan.
Pleasure.
All right, our next question here is from Brian McNair of Oshawa This Week. Please go ahead.
Oh, hi there. It's Brian McNair from Oshawa This Week, as you said. A couple questions, actually, if I could, for Ryan. First, around Michael Del Cole, of course, who has made the camp. Just wondering what he's done over the course of this season and perhaps last that's caught your attention, and what you think he could bring to the team should he be chosen.
Yeah, Michael's a very talented player. He's got great vision. He's got a very good shot, and you see the numbers that he's putting up in Oshawa and how he's really leading that team from an offensive standpoint. Those are all key attributes to what got him to this level, and see where he's at when he comes to our camp.
The other question being, were there other generals that you were looking at closely? I guess specifically the most logical would be Cole Castles. Wondering if his league suspension played a role in him not being chosen, or was he even being looked at closely?
You know what? Cole played in the Subway Series game, which is an opportunity for everyone to be able to showcase themselves, and we're real comfortable and confident with the 29 players that we announced today, and tough break for Cole with the suspension, but we're comfortable with what we have here moving forward.
Great, thank you.
All right, our next question here is from Ken Campbell of the Hockey News. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, it's, as he said, Ken Campbell from the Hockey News. Couple of questions for really, I guess, Ryan, but anyone can answer them. The first is Connor McDavid. Can you give us an update of where things stand with Connor, and more specifically, how long are you willing to wait? Are you willing to go into the tournament without him, with the possibility of adding him later in the tournament if the need be?
Ken, it's Scott Salmon here. He'll be evaluated again on the 9th, and then once he's evaluated, we'll have a better idea of where he stands. Our expectation is that he'll be ready to go on the 26th and 100% to play in our first game. If that isn't the situation as we progress here in the day-to-day situation, we would make a decision at that time of what the timeline looks like, and I would venture to guess, as long as he's able to play at some point during the tournament, that we would obviously want him on our team.
Okay, great. And just one other question. On the roster, it looks like there's only two natural right wingers. Just wondering, first of all, if that's what that means about developing players. I'm surprised that there aren't more right wingers that could make this team. And secondly, are you concerned that players playing out of position, could create a bit of a problem for you?
Well, we've got two right wingers playing in the National Hockey League. If you look at Curtis Lazar and Anthony Duclair. Mm-hmm. Overall, the players at this level are very versatile. They can play a number of different positions, and we've factored that in to when we build our depth chart and look at our roster, that there are players that can kind of move around and play different positions. So, no, it's not a concern for us, and we like the fact that we have some versatility with our players that can play out of position and be as successful as if they were playing the regular position.
But that didn't work so well last year, like with Connor McDavid, for example. Sometimes players can do it, and sometimes it creates a problem for them. Is there not a concern that, playing out of position might, especially in a big tournament and, with all the pressure, that there might be some problems with that?
No, I think with the group that we have, we've got mature players who are talented and very smart hockey players, and we're real comfortable with what we've got. And if some players have to play out of position, there's no doubt that they'll adapt real quickly, in my opinion.
Okay, thanks.
All right, our next question here is from Terry Caution of the Toronto Sun. Please go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks. Ben Watts, question for you, just going off Ken's questions regarding Connor McDavid. Usually the camp and the exhibition games, and certainly the 3 exhibition games once the team is announced, is a good time to get some chemistry along the lines and that sort of thing. What do you plan to do if McDavid is not part of that, and how will that what will the trickle down effect be for the other 3 or 4 lines then?
Yeah, you know what? I really believe that we got to wait until decision is made by the doctor on December 9th, and then we'll have a better idea of what we're going to do with our lines. But it's also the same thing for our NHLer. Like, we don't know who we're going to get, if we're going to get someone. So it's something that we're ready to and prepared to face, and we'll see how it plays out once we're at camp. But you know what? If Connor McDavid's joining us on the 20th, we'll be very happy to find him a spot and line mates.
If you wouldn't mind, Ben, I'll just follow up question on that. A player like Nick Ritchie can be a little bit undisciplined at times, and how important is a guy for that? Is a guy like him to toe the line? I mean, he can be an impact player in this tournament. There's no doubt about that. But how do you ensure that he stops from going over that line?
Yeah, you know what? It's a fine line between playing hard sometimes and being undisciplined. And you know what? They're still young men, and they have to figure out. And sometimes it's not easy, and it's a process. But obviously, I think Nick, he has grown a lot in his role. I think he can be a very important player for us. He's got size, he's got strength, he skates well, he shoots the puck. So I think it's a matter for him to understand what he's got to do and stay within the rules and play within his limit.
Thank you.
All right, our next question here is from Ian Hamilton of the Regina Leader. Please go ahead.
Hi, the question's for Ryan. Can you tell me what you've seen from Morgan Klimchuk so far this season, and what he has to do maybe to crack the roster?
Yeah, Morgan is a fairly consistent player. He plays hard. His game has really matured in the last 2 years. And the thing I like about Morgan a lot is that he always plays well when the maple leaf is on his chest, and that gives him a real good opportunity with us. Saying all those things, he does have an element of skill, and he can really shoot the puck. So he becomes a well-rounded player for us that has to play his game when he comes into camp to prove to us that he belongs on the team. But with the recent success of the Pats, I certainly know that he's been a big part of that, and that he'll be coming into camp guns a-blazing with the way he's been playing.
And what are your thoughts on Braden Point then as well, and what he might offer?
Braden is a energetic, enthusiastic player. His energy is contagious. His hockey sense is off the charts, and just the way he approaches the game every night. When you watch Braden play, he's more often than not the best player on the ice for either team. His skills, his commitment to playing both ends of the ice, and his work ethic is second to none. And all that for being a smaller player. And he proved to our group here at the Subway Series that he belongs on this camp roster. And despite his age, size, and strength, he's a battler that comes to play every night, which is always something that we look for at the world level.
Thanks very much.
Our final question at the moment is from Nate Sager of Yahoo Sports. Please go ahead.
Yes, for for Ryan. I just wondered, Lawson Crouse is, I get to see him play in the OHL on a fairly regular basis, but what does he bring to the table just in terms of his, the confluence of size and skill that he offers?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. He's 6'4". He plays the game the right way. He approaches it with confidence, with physicality, with the ability to forecheck, but he's also got good hands and he's great around the blue paint. And on top of all that, he's a great penalty killer for Kingston. He was a great player for us this summer with our under-18 Ivan Hlinka team. And that energy, that size, that physicality is always something that we need at the international level, but you can't underestimate his abilities with the puck and how good he is in the slot area and in tight to the goal. So all those things make him well-rounded for an opportunity to play on this team and show himself at this camp. And I just wondered too as well. I sort of when I saw at the press conference you were talking about, really looking for skill. When you got into the sort of winnowing down the numbers, how hard was it to maybe not take guys like Dylan Strome or Josh Ho-Sang, who put up some terrific numbers, but at the same time are still young and developing? Well, I think if you look at Dylan Strome, Mitch Marner, Nick Merkley, Josh Ho-Sang, Jared McCann, they're all very talented players. However, there's a certain level of world class that you need to play at this tournament, and they weren't quite there yet. Every player that's coming to this camp, we feel, has the ability to make this team, and those players were just a little bit behind. And that has a little bit to do with their age. That has to do with size and strength. There's no discrediting their skill level, but they're not quite there yet, and they'll have their opportunity here moving forward in upcoming years. And lastly, for me, I just haven't heard anyone ask about Joe Hicketts yet, but what can you just say about the progression that he's made to go to? He wasn't at the August camp, and obviously the Red Wings signed him as a free agent, and now he's here. Joe has always been a great competitor for Team Canada at the under-17s and under-18s. He's always one of our best performers, and yet the strides that he took this summer to get stronger, to become a better skater, and that showed by him getting the opportunity to be signed by the Detroit Red Wings. And then his play in the Subway Super Series was phenomenal, as normal for Joe. He's always been on our radar, but he took the steps this summer with himself personally to put him in a position to come to this camp, and he deserves a lot of credit as a result. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Mike, are there any other questions?
Yeah, there's two more that just came in during the time there.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, our next one is from Ken Campbell of the Hockey News. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Ryan. Just wondering if you can give us some indication of reading the tea leaves, what the future might hold for sort of the four guys in the NHL that might realistically come back and play on this team: Lazar, Drouin, Horvat, and Duclair. Have you heard from any of the teams yet that definitely they will not be available, and where do things stand with that?
Ken, it's Bruce Hamilton. I'll answer this for you. Since Tom and I and really Scott Salmon have been in contact with these teams, and we wanted to keep it a smaller group and not be bothering the particular general managers too much, but just making them aware that certainly there's an opportunity here for those players. The only player right now that we know won't be coming of really the five is Ekblad. Tom has had conversations with a number of teams, as has Scott and as have I, and right now, we're continuing to feel that the door is still open, and probably a lot of the concerns will sit with injuries and things like that within their own organizations as they move forward. But I would say from what we're gathering here, everything's pretty positive that they're listening to us and not saying no right now, anyways, which is far better than it was this time last year.
Okay, thanks.
All right, our final question of the moment here is from Willie Palov of the Halifax Herald. Please go ahead.
Yeah, that'd be for Ryan, I'm guessing. I know there's some talk after last year's tournament and then with the Olympic team's model with a more skill-heavy team that you might not go with defensive specialists or defense-first forwards. what's the plan there as far as following through on that?
Well, I think every player has to have an underlying ability of skill and talent. And yet you still need players to put over the boards that the coach feels comfortable to play a penalty kill, to play defense, and yet these are all world-class players, and the fact that they're world-class is that they can adapt to different roles. So we do have to make sure that we have enough skill in our bottom six that can compensate for our top six maybe being neutralized. But at the end of the day, we still need a well-rounded enough player that the coach feels comfortable on a PK and defensive zone, but also give us some skill and depth when we need it.
So maybe as a follow-up to that, you put a lot of emphasis on the tryout camp this year, or rather than with that particular type of player?
I think we've got a real good feel on who those types of players are, and yet there's no doubt that some of those bubble players will be fighting for spots at the camp. As we go through the process here, there's certain players targeted, maybe not for a role, but that play a specific nature of defensive game or face-off specialist that will be looking to do some of those things, but they have to have an underlying ability of skill to give us depth as well.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right. There are no further questions from the queue here.
Okay, well, Mike, at this time, just anybody left on the line, I just want to thank you all for being part of today's conference call. Thanks to our guests here in Montreal. And a reminder, more information at hockeycanada.ca, both on the roster and on the upcoming World Juniors. Merci à tous ceux qui ont participé à cette appel conférence, à nos intervenants ici à Montréal. Et je rappellerai à tout le monde que pour plus d'informations, allez à hockeycanada.ca pour de l'information sur l'équipe nationale junior, mais également sur le championnat junior qui s'en vient à Montréal et Toronto. Merci beaucoup. Thanks very much, Mike. That'll be all.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the Hockey Canada conference call. Thank you for your participation and have a nice day.